Hello to everyone out there on YouTube and Instagram. Right now, I am live on my YouTube page, the Renaissance Amazon, and Instagram at the underscore Renaissance underscore Amazon underscore 81. So make sure you follow me in both places, okay? For people on the IG Live, this video will be archived on my YouTube page. So I hope you all doing well today. My name is Makeda Valletta, also known as the Renaissance Amazon. Some of you have been following me for a while, so you may be familiar with my background, but I think my glasses are dirty. Sorry. I'm going to keep my glasses on so that I can see your comments for this a little bit. Might take them on and off. So I'm born and raised in New York City, and I am the daughter of a civil rights leader. My dad, who I am very close to, my dad was in the front lines of the civil rights movement. He was a Black radical out of Florida. And since I've been living, my dad has been a journalist, okay? And my mom, she's a union organizer. And I have a twin brother, and he's also a journalist. So I want to talk about this Gayle King and Kobe Bryant situation. And I really believe in critical thinking, okay? Every situation must be put into context, okay? And thinking critically, putting yourself into different people's shoes, trying to understand different perspectives, and putting the whole thing into perspective, okay? And the thing is that, I am not a sports fan, like I knew who Kobe Bryant was, of course, but I wasn't like following him in that way. But since his death, which broke my heart, him and his daughter, especially the fact that his daughter was with him. Because one thing I do have is a soft spot for female athletes. I was an athlete, and my degree is in exercise and sports science. I got into sports science and strength and conditioning because I wanted to train female athletes, okay? And like I said, I have a twin brother. Me and him are very close. I'm close to my dad, so I don't hate men. But ever since I was a little girl, I always noticed, like how male athletes are treated differently. And then when I was like in college, I started to get very turned off by male athletes because dudes on the football team and the basketball team, and this is on a college level, I remember they acted very entitled. I remember being in college and dudes in the basketball team and the football team would be in my face yelling at me, ask me if I was a lesbian or whatever, because I wasn't paying, they couldn't get my attention, right? Because I didn't care football basketball team. And I remember seeing how entitled so many of them acted, and it always turned me off from male athletes. Now, I was never against working with male athletes, but my passion has always been in female athletes, because female athletes, to me, they don't play with that ego. They don't play for the groupies, okay? There's more heart involved. I also feel like, especially in basketball, like I don't watch a lot of college basketball. I heard it was different. But with the NBA, I don't really watch the NBA too often, but my twin brother, he's a sports journalist. Most of the people in my family are all sports fans. The women and the men, they're sports fans. My twin brother, he's a sports journalist. So he's always watching sports, always paying attention to that. That's what he does, my whole life. So when the times that I have seen the NBA on in the background, I always felt like they were so dramatic, like always falling on the floor just because somebody tapped them. And I felt like the women weren't as dramatic. And I just always was into female athletes. So it breaks my heart that, his daughter didn't get to live her full extent because she was about to be a beast. I think she would have been even greater than him just because she's a woman and there's so many more obstacles that women have to surpass. Women have babies. You could be a female athlete giving birth and all kinds of stuff going on. So I think that she would have been, we all know that she would have been amazing. So that really breaks my heart. And I was really bothered by his death, even though I never was really paying attention to him like that before, right? When the rape allegations came out against Kobe Bryant back in when 2003, whenever that was. I remember I barely paid attention to it. When I first heard it, I thought I could see that on the one hand because I feel like a lot of male athletes act so entitled to a fault. So on the one hand, maybe I could see that happening, but then on the other hand, that girls lie a lot. You know what I'm saying? So I just left it at that. Never really put too much into it. Never paid attention to it too much. So since his passing, I was just looking into him because at first I remember posting an Instagram post. I was like really heartbroken. I even cried, okay, over the death of Kobe and his daughter. And I was like obsessed with it for a couple days, okay? And I also have a soft spot for fathers and daughters because I'm very close to my dad. And anybody who's around me, they always hear me talking about my dad. Some people just forget I have a mom because they're like, you don't talk about your mother. But I do love my mom. I'm close to her too. But I'm definitely a daddy's girl. And I have a soft spot for fathers and daughters. I love fathers and daughters. I really do. Whenever I see little girls who are like close to their dads, first of all, and no offense to the women out there who don't have fathers. No offense, okay? But I'm just going to say this. I have noticed that some of the most boss women, some of the most fierce and successful women are actually close to their dad. You have people like, Beyonce, and with her father, being behind who she was, or Venus and Serena, their father being behind who they are. So a lot of times, I mean, there were other examples, but a lot of times, women who do boss shit and are very successful and amazing, they're very close to their father, okay? So I feel like fathers, absent fathers affect boys, but I feel like they affect girls even more. I've seen boys be okay who had an absent father, and I've seen them grow up to be, normal, loving men who are good fathers and balanced. But when girls don't have their fathers, they seem permanently screwed up. And like I said, no offense to the women who didn't have a dad, okay? But I've just observed that it seems like they never really go over that, and then they have a lot of relationship issues, looking for a father in their man, which is a no, So fathers play a really important role with their daughters, okay? So I love watching and learning about this connection he had with his daughter that I didn't know about. And to me, from all the things that I've learned about him since, like I remember back, hearing certain people in the NBA had an issue with him, but I wasn't paying attention to that. Everything I've learned about him since his death, I feel like he was an amazing person, very deep. I didn't get bad vibes from him. And I felt like, of course, he had cheated on his wife, but that has nothing to do with being a rapist. And, a lot of people do that. And I don't really believe in strict monogamy anyway. But, okay, so let me get to the point. So now after I'm looking into things that I posted, a heartfelt post about him, then I started to, remember and come across things with the rape case. Because of the sexual assault case. And because I wasn't really paying attention to the facts back then. I do remember his face at the press conference looked like he was lying. It didn't look like somebody that was telling the truth. But at the same time, it also looked like somebody that could have been seriously embarrassed that they even have to talk about this at all. Because, he did cheat on his wife, and maybe that was just embarrassing for him at all to be, publicly having this conversation. But when I looked into the facts, it was saying that the facts of the case was that, when Kobe first found out, I can't remember, somebody was asking him if he had sex with her, and he was denying having sex with her at all. Then when he found out he had charges, he said, yes, I had sex with her, but it was consensual. And apparently his blood was found all over her shirt, semen inside of her. She had 2-3 centimeter lacerations in her vagina and anus or something. They said these lacerations were not consistent with consensual sex, and that the case was thrown out because the woman's name was put out there, and she was harassed so badly that she was getting death threats. So that's why she didn't testify. Now I can believe, So when I see that, I was like, oh wow. Like even though I don't get those kind of vibes from him, but you never know about people. But to me, that was like, I know that men in positions of power also get away with a lot of shit, okay? And every black man, there are people in the black community feel like every black man's a victim. Every time, there's a scandal about a black man, they're trying to take him down. I don't think that. Fuck Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby was a creep, when we know that, but the thing is that, okay, so I'm looking at this and I'm like, all right, that's sort of weird. Now, fine. You still can't call somebody a rapist because even with her blood or his semen inside of her, they could have just been having really rough sex. And the thing is, and also no offense to the white girls, or the white people, but my observation is that white people a lot of times be into some crazy shit, okay? White people sexually can be into some shit that black people just would never go there and do that. And I feel like, white girls can definitely be like that over a black dude. So just because you find these things doesn't mean that like she wasn't on some sick shit. It doesn't mean that he raped her, right? Okay. So fast forward to this Gayle King interview, right? I woke up, was it yesterday that I found? I think this might have been yesterday or the day before yesterday when this all came out. And I remember I looked at I see, this backlash. I see Snoop Dogg making a video calling her a funky dog-faced bitch, which I feel like is totally uncalled for. And I have something to say about that in a second. So I go and look up the whole entire interview. Like you see the clip that came out, Then I look at the whole interview and I didn't see the problem with the interview, right? I was just like, okay. I feel like as a journalist, she had to ask questions about that. Like it wouldn't be, you can't seem biased. And I didn't feel like the way she asked the questions were biased. And I felt like the interview painted him in a very good light, right? Everything Lisa Leslie said to me just made you fall in love with Kobe even more, and the fact that Lisa knew him since before he had those charges and she talked about what she observed from him, to me counted for a lot. But I didn't notice, that I didn't notice the part where she had said, well, you wouldn't know that though, Lisa, being his friend, you wouldn't know that. I thought I heard her say, you would know that, like saying, okay, like if you're saying you never seen him be aggressive, you've never seen that come out of him, you would know that because you're his best friend and you had been around him. That's what I thought she had said. But when I found out later, she had said, you wouldn't know that, that changed things. And I'm going to say this, going back to the fact that I told you, my dad has been a journalist all my life, okay? When I was growing up, he wrote for the New York Daily News. He wrote for the Village Voice. He wrote for the Manchester Guardian of London. He used to come on, and that's in New York Daily News. He used to come on, he had a radio show in New York. He used to come on TV all the time for round table discussions on the news. And, just like being a comedian, when you're a part of the media, like there's times people are going to be mad. As a black person, you can't be like, sometimes black people always want you to be on black people's side or not ask certain questions. But at the same time, the media, there's also a lot of racism. Of course, we know this within the media. And I saw my dad struggle as a black journalist, having arguments constantly with his white editors, constantly being a problem. Them trying to silence him, trying to dim down what he was saying. And I saw this. But my dad wrote an article about Al Sharpton. This was like in the 80s and 90s. I don't know. I was a kid. And he said a lot of black people didn't like what he had to say about Al Sharpton, but then a lot of black people did, And sometimes, you're in that, a journalist needs to ask hard questions and you're in this weird space. But then at the same time, like my twin brother, he just graduated with a Master of Science in Journalism from Columbia University, which is the #1 journalism school in the country. And my dad doesn't have a degree in journalism, but Columbia University was using my dad's writing in their courses for like a couple decades, okay? My brother and my father had the same name, so when my brother's professor saw his name, he's like, are you his son? And they knew my dad's work, okay? So my dad was a journalist who wrote about all kinds of things. He wrote about black issues, world issues, politics, the arts, jazz, theater. My dad wrote about social issues, all those things, and he wrote his opinion. He was not a reporter, okay? My twin brother, he writes about sports. I mean, he does other things as well, but his main thing is sports, okay? And one of my brother's favorite athletes is Michael Vick. My brother hated the fact. Sorry, that was my speaker. My brother hated the fact how the media treated Michael Vick and just, America and that dog shit. How, there are people, and it's crazy because white people a lot of times love dogs. Well, not a lot of times they love dogs more than us. I remember my grandmother died at 95. She died like 3 years ago. She's from Florida, and she used to always say to me, white people treated dogs better than us. They treated dogs better than us. And I didn't understand. I thought she was being dramatic, right? But now that I'm grown, I see there's a lot of truth to that. A lot of times I think white people care about dogs more than black people, right? The Michael Vick shit was ridiculous, okay? So we know that black men a lot of times get punished more severely. Black people, period, not just black men, right? Black women as well can get punished more severely, and the media can be very unfair. And we all know the history of, black men and white women, right, in this country. Okay, so anyhow, before I noticed that Gayle King had said, "You wouldn't know that though, Lisa." Before I noticed she said that, I asked my brother and my dad. This might have been 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago when I first found out about this, I texted them both to find out what they thought about it, right? Neither one of them, when I texted them, were really aware of it, right? So my dad looks it up. My brother looked at it up, and my brother got back to me first. He said, "I don't like the second question that she asked, but I don't think the backlash is warranted. I think it's blown way out of proportion," right? My dad had said, I talked to him yesterday. He said he didn't see an issue with it. He thought that it was an excellent piece of journalism. And, but then I talked to my dad today, and he said, no, I watched the interview again a couple times. And what I didn't, my dad said, I do think that she should have asked about the charges or whatever. It wouldn't have been good journalism or responsible journalism if she didn't. But I didn't like the fact that she said, Lisa, you wouldn't know now, would you? Because my dad said, her saying that is like negating what Lisa just said. I don't think she should have said that. And my dad said, I wouldn't have said that, and I wouldn't have asked it in the way she did. I think that before that, she was doing a great job, But that part my dad didn't. But he also said, I don't think that the backlash and the death threats and all that is warranted. That he's like, I'm not mad at her. He said, I don't think she should have said that, but I'm not like outraged and mad about her saying that, right? And my brother had said, that's the other thing, when he looked at it, he had said, I don't think the CBS should have put that clip out there. That was wrong, as the preview. Now, I go back and listen because I'm like, yeah, are you sure she said that? So I go back and listen, and I see that she did say that, right? That Lisa went, no. Now, to me, playing devil's advocate, because I honestly do not believe that Gayle is a horrible person. I do not believe that she's out to get black men. And I feel like, people attacking Oprah, like Oprah and Gayle out to get black men. I think that's absolutely absurd. I think that Oprah has done so many, has a name behind so many amazing projects, amazing projects about black people. So I don't agree with that at all. Now, the thing that playing devil's advocate, I was thinking, and this is the other thing. My dad told me that I did not know. He said with the Kobe, because I wasn't paying attention to this when it happened. He said that when that rape shit came out, that there was several white people, like after she left whatever with him, she went to a party. And there were several white people at this party who testified and said, she came there bragging about it. She came to the party bragging about the fact that she had sex with Kobe Bryant. So I did not know this. When my dad told me this, I thought, oh no, I definitely don't believe that he raped her. Like, forget about if he had her blood on her shirt, if his semen was inside of her, all of that. That still doesn't mean that he raped her, okay? Now, the fact that she went and bragged about it, to me, cancels everything out, and that's disgusting. And the fact that when I looked up the facts of the case, I never came across that. I never came across that at all. Not until my dad told me that. And my dad said, I think that Kobe Bryant had bad judgment. He said when that happened, he never understood what the fuck he was thinking in the first place, ever getting involved in a woman like that. And my dad said to him that spoke of like, his image of himself or something. I don't know. Bad judgment. But we all have bad judgment. We all make mistakes. So you can definitely say that was a mistake he made. From that point on, he probably just cheated with women who had more to lose and had more sense, okay? He was young, and playing sports makes you horny. So even like when I think about, athletes cheating, I think about the fact that even me, myself, as a woman, if I was always gone, my man's not with me, it's like, you need sex. And it doesn't mean that you don't love the person you're with. And then when you're playing when you're playing sports, I feel like it gets you really riled up, and there's a connection between sex and sports. Okay, so to me, I see that he was a good father, and he was, from the things that I can find, a pretty good person. I don't understand this shit with his parents, all that, but that doesn't have anything to do with this. Okay, so the thing though is that I feel like the backlash is totally horrible, because I see people, first of all, Bill Cosby jumps into the conversation. Fuck Bill Cosby, okay? I don't give a fuck about what Bill Cosby has to say about shit. And I'm tired of people constantly saying, oh, well, it's because he's messing with white women. No, Bill Cosby fucked up with black women too. He did that shit to black women too. And to me, it doesn't matter if it was black women or white women. The shit is fucked up. I'm not somebody who thinks, oh, it's only white women, so I don't care. No. You know what I'm saying? Bill Cosby and my dad are around the same age. My dad is 77 years old. He was on the front lines of the civil rights movement. He tells me and his mentor was a woman named Queen Mother Moore. Queen Mother Moore is somebody a lot of you probably never even heard of. She was a very important figure in the civil rights movement. And he tells me all the time that men back then, they didn't want to hear shit women had to say. Like men in the movement didn't want to hear shit a woman had to say. He said Queen Mother Moore, when she spoke, everybody shut the fuck up and listen. But they were very machismo, very disrespectful to women. My dad wasn't like that, but he always told me that a lot of them were. There are a lot of men who get away with murder. They're men in positions of power. First of all, people idolize these athletes. People idolize athletes, idolize music stars, their favorite stars, and could have done anything wrong, and they're obsessed to like a fault. I'm not like that over any star, but at the same time, I can put things into context. Like, I think R. Kelly's a creep, but can I still listen to his music? Yes, I can. A lot of people say they can't. I can't. I can divorce the fact of him being a creep from the music, because I do it with hip hop. Hip hop in the 90s was wild disrespectful to black women. Okay, wild disrespectful. People over here praising Biggie and praising Biggie was, he beat up Faith because of some shit Tupac said. You know what I'm saying? Then you have Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre, who beat the shit out of a female reporter. A little woman picked her up by her hair, slammed her head into a wall on a staircase, beat her, had his security stop people from helping her at gunpoint, okay? Beat her to the bathroom, sexually assaulted her, and the man that tried to help her got his teeth knocked out by Dre's bodyguards. And, then fucking, and he did this shit over some shit Ice Cube said. Some shit, you beat up a little woman over some shit Ice Cube said. Why didn't your punk ass go to Ice Cube? Why are you beating up a little woman, sneak attacking her or some punk shit? Let me tell you right now, I cannot stand men from the West Coast. Sorry if men from the West Coast are listening, but they are my least fucking favorite group of men on the planet. I feel like West Coast men, the West Coast in gentlemen is non-existent. You can have gangsters in Detroit, gangsters in Chicago, gangsters in Harlem, that they may be some, in Philly, there may be some gangster dudes, but you'll see them with a pretty lady on their arm, being a gentleman, helping her out of a car, whatever. You can see those images. I can't even see that image in California. I don't know if I ever saw that. California men are the most machismo, slap a bitch kind of dudes on the fucking planet, and you hear it in their music. When NWA came out, fuck NWA, every single last one of them, okay? Now, after this happened, Eazy-E and a couple other members of NWA went on MTV saying that D. Barnes deserved it, and that that if they see her again, she's going to catch it again. Okay, all this should happen. Dre is going on to be successful, make a lot of money. Then Eminem comes out, makes songs making fun of the shit. And Snoop, those are people you was rolling with. Okay, you rolling with people like that, and they never got in trouble. And there's so many incidences of men doing some fucked up shit like that to women, and they never get in trouble. I don't care. It's not just white women, black women. Okay, there are black men who've done horrible things to black women. Every other day, I see a story about a black woman being murdered by a black man. Every other day, there's some jealous black boyfriend and shot his black girl or his wife or some shit. You constantly see that. And Black Lives Matters was organized by black women, mostly protests for black men. Black women are the nourishers of black men. I have a father, and I'm very close to him. But it seems like 50% of the black community didn't have a dad, didn't know who the dad was. The dad was a piece of shit. The dad had kids and 50 other people. They don't even know who other siblings are. Yada, 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 yada. So many motherfucking stories like that. So many black women left to fend for themselves because of black men who weren't being fathers, who left them alone. Okay? So many black women fighting for black men who are being killed by police. You know? Meanwhile, black men are unaware of the amount of black women who die in childbirth, how the percentage is out of control. It's an epidemic. And the fact that a lot of that, there's so many stories talking about how a lot of that has to do with the medical community and their bias, how they ignore black women. When black women tell them that something's wrong or something hurts, and they get ignored. I've never seen black men ever stand up for us, okay? Now, my dad is an exception, but most black men in America, they ain't standing up for no black women's issues. Black women are always fighting for black men, always. So then, but yet, black women, I don't care what anybody says, black women are the most disrespected, unprotected people in America. It's black women. Yes, black men have, have hardships. But black women are always there to nurture. Black women are always there when he falls. There's so many black women who've held down families, okay? Raising children is one of the hardest things that anybody could ever do. So many black women have done that shit on their own because the black men that went to jail on some dumb shit just don't want to be responsible or whatever else. You know, and so to me, it just disgusts me. Like, I'm like, if a black man asked that question, would they be attacking him like that? Because Kanye West is out here talking about slavery was a choice, and over here sucking Donald Trump's dick on TV, and he didn't get that kind of backlash, okay? People are jumping down Oprah's throat about some motherfucking Bill Cosby and all this other shit. But meanwhile, you know, a black man is the one who exposed Bill Cosby. That whole Bill Cosby shit came out because something a black man said. But nobody attacked that man. Nobody attacked that man. You know what I'm saying? But if it was a black woman, oh, this black woman trying to destroy the black man, blah, 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 blah. You know, I have never seen, and also, I have never seen an example in any other culture, not with white people, not with Hispanics, not with Asians, where you have a famous pop star like Snoop Dogg coming out and calling an older woman, because you know better. You know, what the fuck kind of home training is that shit? You might disagree with what she said, but to make a video and call her a funky dog-faced bitch and then say, before we come get you, when Snoop, you got motherfucking daughters, you got a wife, you too motherfucking grown. You talking to her like on some gangster shit. She didn't say, I think Kobe Bryant is a rapist and he deserved to die. She didn't say no shit like that. She asked a couple of questions. Maybe you didn't like her wording, you know, but that kind of response is not warranted. Then today I wake up and I see, because I follow Snoop on Instagram, I see another video he posted with some pastor, like a fat piece of shit. I didn't even know who this man was, but people tell me he's a pastor. And he's on Snoop's page like, fuck you, Gayle King. Fuck you, Gayle King. Like, you're supposed to be a religious leader? So I've never seen Hispanics or white people or nobody do no shit like that to a woman in their community who says something or asks a question. Like, I can't think of any example of that happening. The blatant disrespect. And Snoop made his money coming out the gate being disrespectful to women. And I liked Snoop. You know, I liked him until now. Now I'm becoming very turned off by him. And I'm seeing that West Coast asshole coming out of him, which I thought he didn't have. I thought Snoop might be one of the dudes on the West Coast that's actually cool. But no. That shit's in no New York rapper or I don't feel like any other city will come out doing some shit like that. That shit is not warranted at all. Then when people say like, oh, how come she doesn't ask him about, how come she don't interview Harvey Weinstein, blah, 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 blah. Like, first of all, Gayle has interviewed Harvey Weinstein's attorney, okay? And she asked the attorney very hard questions. She probably can't interview Harvey Weinstein because who has interviewed Harvey Weinstein? He's not doing interviews. As a member, if you know anything about the media, you can't just interview who you want. People have to agree to the shit. Okay, he's undergoing a case. Harvey Weinstein didn't get off. He's still going through court. We don't know what's going to happen. But independent of that, that doesn't negate the fact that black people do fucked up shit. So I can't stand when I hear black men say, you know, well, you talking about Bill Cosby, about Harvey Weinstein. Harvey Weinstein's fucked up too, and he deserves to get it too. You know, everybody has to go through the legal system. But Bill Cosby barely got punished. He's damn near dead, and now he gets in trouble, but he's in his lavish house or whatever, in house arrest or some shit. That's not a punishment. And this motherfucker's still talking shit. Fuck Bill Cosby, okay? My dad, as somebody who's around that same age, told me back then, ain't nobody care about a woman saying she was raped. So when people ask why those women take so long to come out, nobody give a fuck about that in the 60s and 70s. Plus, Bill Cosby was loved. Like I said, people idolize these actors. They idolize these athletes. You know, a lot of people didn't have a motherfucking father, so Bill Cosby's their make-believe dad. But he's fucking acting. You don't know these people. We don't know any of these celebrities, no matter how much you think you know them. And no matter how much people think they know me, if you're just watching me on social media, you don't fucking know me. You know what I'm saying? But at least with me, I'm not acting. Bill Cosby's a fucking actor. People are so convinced he's Mr. Huxtable. You know, and then people would say dumb things like, well, how come he didn't try to rape Felicia Rashad? Felicia Rashad, number one, was married to a whole football player. Number two, okay, he preyed on women who were powerless and, you know, not so important, didn't have a voice, maybe trying to get him to come up or whatever. You know, Bill Cosby doesn't deserve any defense. You know, so it's like, and then people say they feel like it's too soon for Gayle King to ask any questions. I don't agree with that either because the conversation was about his legacy. He died. That's why we're talking about his legacy. So what do you mean it's too soon? Like, what is she going to do? Wait 2 years and then call Lisa Leslie just so she can ask her those questions? If she did that, people would be even more outraged. They'd be like, damn, let him rest in peace. You know, why are you still trying to dig that up? Blah, 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 blah. And then you're going to call her for an interview just to ask her those questions. People would really think that Gayle King was trying to tarnish his legacy. No matter when she asked those questions, people would have had a problem. So stop with the bullshit of it's too soon. No. And let's put everything in context. People also make mistakes. Okay? She immediately came out with a video apologizing, saying that's not what she meant, clearing things up. Clearing things up. You didn't see, you know, there are men in the industry who do horrible things who don't even do that shit. I mean, do horrible things who don't even do that. I know what communicating with people on a daily basis, you know, doing business, whatever, in my personal life. Constantly. I feel like I'm one of the few people who says exactly what I mean. But a lot of people, they'll say shit and then, fuck. What happened to my... Hold on, my IG video went out. Damn. It's a good, hold on. Okay, so for my people on IG, I was recording this video where I was talking about Gayle King and Kobe Bryant, but the camera stopped and I don't think that I lost the video, so I won't be able to archive the video on Instagram. So for those of you who see this, just understand that I've been talking for 35 minutes. So you missed 35 minutes of a conversation prior to this. So before you express opinions on what I'm talking about, go look up the full video on my YouTube page. My YouTube page is The Renaissance Amazon, okay? Because that's where this full video will be. Since my Instagram camera just turned off. Don't know why. Lost the video. Okay. So back to what I was saying, and I totally lost my train of thought because the camera stopped. But the thing I was, I was basically analyzing, this interview and looking at all perspectives. Oh, this is what I was saying. Me talking to people on a regular basis. Constantly people say things to me that, and I'm like, well, they'll say something. And then when I respond, they'll be like, oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, I didn't mean that. What I meant was this. And I'm like, well, that's not what you said, right? So I feel like constantly people say things that they didn't really mean it like that, which to me was always kind of weird because I'm like, if you didn't really mean that, then why did you say that? But there are a lot of people who they make mistakes in how they're saying things. There's a lot of pressure, especially being in certain positions where you're having pressure from so many different angles, and trying to, not make these people mad, and try to make it seem like you did a good job and that you weren't too easy on somebody. And so I do think that her choice of words of saying, and also sometimes the way people say things, the way that they say it, like when you're not in their head, you may not completely understand. You may not completely understand how they meant it. So when she said, "Well, Lisa, you wouldn't know, you wouldn't see that because you were his friend." A lot of times when something happens, like there's like a mass shooting or somebody does some crazy shit and the family comes out like, oh, he was a good boy. He was never the kind of person to do that. I mean, even with like Aaron Hernandez, you know what I'm saying? Nobody knew he was like that. He was so sweet. We had no idea he would be like that. But meanwhile, he was over here killing people. So a lot of times when people close to somebody who does fucked up shit, they always say that wasn't the person I knew, blah, blah. They say that 100%. But there are people who've done fucked up shit and everybody around them is saying that's not the person I knew. There's people that got split personalities and people show you what they want to see. So for her saying that is kind of playing devil's advocate and had a little bit of truth to it. Because a lot of times you don't see certain things. There's things about me that my friends don't fucking know. You know what I'm saying? Because they just don't see that side of me. I got different sides. We all got different sides. None of my sides are fucked up. But I'm just saying, So when I think about it that way, because I feel like in the whole context of it, and then how she even asked after that, like, do you even think this should even be a part of his legacy or not? Is it even worth discussing or is it even worth, what I'm saying? So I feel like the questions I think that she was trying to pose questions from an unbiased way, not trying to make it seem, even though when she said you wouldn't know, somebody could say that's biased, yes, but somebody could also say that's her playing devil's advocate, because I always think that when people say that kind of thing, like people who are close to people, right? And so we may think, or people may think, oh, she thought Kobe was a rapist, but she may not have thought that. She may just been trying to do a good job as a reporter. People have to, as a journalist, people also have to think of what is the job in the role of a journalist. What the job in the role of a journalist is not to be easy on people. And just like, also a lot of powerful people control the narrative. My brother, again, being a sports journalist, there's plenty of times he told me he wanted to ask an athlete a question about something racial. Like there could be something going on in sports or in the world that has to do with race or something. My brother might want to ask them. And he said their publicist always shuts him down. The publicists control a lot of what the media even has access to, what the media is able to ask. So people blame the media a lot for stuff, but people also don't realize how rich and powerful people control the media. And I also think that, now that I know all the things around the Kobe case, now that I know that the girls, was celebrating afterwards and bragging about it, then I definitely don't feel like that woman, that, that he did that. But so I definitely don't feel that way. And we know there's a long history of white women lying on black men. But there's also, so that's true, but there's also a long history of men in positions of power getting away with murder, i.e. O.J. Simpson. It's also true that people worship these athletes and these stars to a fault. Sometimes they just don't want to see, the fact that this person might be a sick individual, and they may not have done it on purpose. Like R. Kelly was sick, but I don't blame him for it, because when you look at his fucking how he was raised, I don't feel like he's consciously trying to hurt people. I feel like he's fucked up. When people have sick abuse and stuff in their childhood, that programs them a certain way. Michael Jackson. I believe that Michael Jackson was probably playing with little boys, because what grown man wants to sleep in the bed with what grown ass man is trying to sleep in the bed with little boys? That's like the number one sign of a pedophile. If you read How to Recognize a Pedophile, Michael Jackson has a lot of those things. But pedophilia is a disease. So I don't believe that Michael Jackson intentionally was trying to hurt anybody. That may be what he understood as normal. That may be what he understood to be the way you show love, because he grew up with some backwards weird shit. You know what I'm saying? And really, really religious people always got some kind of weird sexual abuse. And so I believe that Michael and R. Kelly were victims of some sexual abuse as a kid and had issues. I don't think that they were trying to intentionally hurt anybody. R. Kelly and Michael Jackson their music, between the two of them, their music has touched so many souls all around the world. And music and art is healing. So I will still listen to Michael Jackson, and I will still listen to R. Kelly. And the songs that R. Kelly has touched that other people have sang, it's complicated, okay? But because I think their music is beautiful, and because I can divorce the two, doesn't mean that I think that either one of them are innocent. Just because I love their music. Like, I can separate the two, the art from the man, okay? And I feel like a lot of people cannot do that. And so they just want to see somebody as innocent because of that. So there's a lot of different perspectives to be considered, There are real conversations that need to be had. On the one hand, Black men have been, the history of Black men and white women in this country is traumatic since the beginning. We know that white men, a lot of them have a homoerotic obsession with Black men and are intimidated by Black men. That's true. We also know that, and my grandmother, my grandmother, my dad's mom, she was a very light-skinned Black woman from Florida, from a mulatto class of free Blacks in Florida. And my grandmother was so pro-Black man, okay? Anything a Black man, I often hear her in my head, and I wonder what she would say if she was here right now, seeing this situation. But I do know that my grandmother, anytime a Black man got accused of anything, she was defending him. Period. And I don't think all Black men deserve our support. Like with O.J. Simpson, I don't think he deserved that, right? He didn't even really like Black people like that. And I do believe he killed Nicole. And I was a kid when that happened. And I thought then, I wasn't thinking about Black and white. I was thinking about women and men in positions of power. O.J. Simpson was an athlete. As soon as that shit came out, and this is before navigation and cell phones, when he was on that little Bronco chase, people was lined up on the highways before he even got to where he was going to cheer him on, when this man was accused of slaughtering his wife and her friend. And then, everything about that, I think he did it, right? Now, my dad was a journalist at the time. I never heard my dad express his opinion on it. I remember my dad was hanging out with Johnny Cochran. I remember he would interview Johnny Cochran. I never heard my dad or my mom express their opinion. My grandmother, when OJ got acquitted, my grandmother was really, really happy that day. And I didn't understand it. And my grandmother said to me, because I thought that he did it, right? My grandmother, and I kept thinking, that's somebody's mother. I felt sorry for the kids, because I kept thinking, I was a kid, and I kept thinking, if that happened, if my mom got murdered, that shit was so sad to me. And everybody was so caught up in him as the star, this football star, to the point where people never gave the wife proper respect, and people still talk shit about her. I've seen comedians like Paul Mooney and stuff saying horrible things. Like, I don't think that's cool. That was somebody's mother. So what? She was a white woman. That doesn't give you the right to make fun of her death. That shit was fucked up. And men in positions of power get away with shit all the time. They can control the narrative. So Gayle being a female and being Black, it's like you're in a hard position. Because if you don't ask certain questions, then you got women mad at you, or these people mad at you, or so it's important to put all those facts in context, all those different perspectives in context, and the fact in the role of a journalist. Okay, now she, I believe, made a mistake. Okay, people make mistakes. I don't think that what she did was so horrible. She didn't, say he deserved it. Somebody says he deserved it. That was his karma and he's a rapist. But yeah, that's fucked up. That's incredibly fucked up. She didn't do all of that. Okay. She even said great things about him in the end of the interview, about how she had met him several times, how he was always kind to her, how she too was mourning his death. You know what I'm saying? And then to immediately apologize. Like, it's like she and had a heartfelt message. There's no way that somebody can tell me she deserves the intensity of backlash that she's getting, where she has to have security guards, security, where Snoop was making those kind of videos. I'm sure Kobe, okay, himself wouldn't approve of that. He didn't even seem like that kind of man. He himself wouldn't act like that. That shit is disgusting. And Kobe wasn't an LA West Coast dude, okay? He was a man of the world. Born in Italy, raised by Afro-Americans, then in Philly. He just got put on LA's team. He's not an LA dude, so he's not an asshole like that. California men are horrible. And there's no justification for Snoop making that kind of shit. And people thinking that Oprah and Gayle are the motherfucking enemy out to get black men. Stop with that shit. And motherfucking Bill Cosby's not a victim. R. Kelly's not a victim. There are plenty of black men out here in this world, okay, who have done amazing things, who have never been caught up in any scandals, okay? Have never been caught up in any scandals. We don't see Obama caught up in no goddamn scandals because he didn't do no fucked up shit, okay? Now, with Kobe, that was the one negative thing that anybody can dig up about him. I can't find nothing else about him that says that he's a bad person. And even with the rape charges, I don't believe that after me looking into the facts of everything. I haven't looked into facts before I form opinions. I don't believe that he did that. I think he had bad judgment. I think he had some wild sex with a crazy ass white girl. And I feel like he learned his lesson. And just started messing with women who had more to lose and not just scraggly little bitches in a hotel. Okay? But other than that, there's nothing else negative anybody can say about Kobe. He has spread more positivity and more fire for all of us, okay, that all of us can use to be better people. Sometimes, and I find it very powerful that he had 4 girls. I think a lot of times that happens to people when they have something to work on, with that. Like maybe he wasn't the best to women. And I don't mean in a rapist kind of way. I mean just in a playboy kind of way. Maybe he wasn't the best to women, but then you get all these daughters because you don't want men treating your daughters like that. So I feel like a lot of times that happens. Or you got dykes who hate men, but you want a baby. What happens if you get a son? A lot of times that happens to teach them a lesson. I think that the example that Kobe set as a father and a so-called girl dad warms my motherfucking heart because I told you I'm a daddy's girl. Girls that have that kind of support from their father are always the illest. That is, words can't express my soft spot for that and how much I hate that things happened the way they did. And before I start crying, I'm also just going to say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I also don't believe that his death was an accident, okay? I don't believe that, but that's a whole nother conversation. And I've been talking enough. So I just hope that some people will consider some of the things that I'm saying and that we start to critically think and put things in context, have compassion, look at every situation for what it is. And with Gayle King, I do, and Oprah, okay, I do not see black women who are out to get black men. Okay, I don't see that. And that's absolutely ridiculous and blown out of proportion. And the disrespect that she's receiving is unwarranted. And that's the moral of the story. I think I've made all the points I wanted to make. I'm just trying to make sure. If you don't follow me on Instagram, follow me at the_Renaissance_Amazon_81. And if you don't follow me on YouTube, be sure to follow me at the Renaissance Amazon. For those of you on Instagram, just be aware of the fact that I was talking for 30 minutes prior to the camera shutting off, so you're getting the end of the conversation. So if you want to hear the full spectrum of what I said, and don't write me with no damn comments if you haven't listened to everything I've said, because I said a lot, okay? And I'm coming from a unique place. All right, people. Be well. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. Bye. Let me see what okay. Bye. Thanks for your comments. Please share the video if you liked it.